Lucky Boys Podcast.
Right? I think our elected officials need to speak up. And it's not, we're always put on the defensive. By the time decisions made is when we get the outrage.
Yeah.
Right? If you're at the table to work for us, not just to say how wrong you are, how wrong we have been. Mm-hmm. We know we've been doing that without you. I don't need you to add to that. I need you to really
fight for us.
Fight for us.
Yeah.
Right? Fight for the generation that's been here.
Yeah. And even the future generations.
Yeah.
Why do you think they're not fighting for us?
Because they report to the political machine, right? Because unfortunately, they have to report their masters. Their masters, we're not their masters.
But then, and that's the thing, if they go against their masters, won't the masters just replace them and somebody else will take?
So what? I think it's worth standing up hungry than eating crumbs on your knees. I think that's what they need to do. Wow. Right? Is that what you want? I mean, did you wake up in the morning? It's worth standing up. Why are we going to take crumb from people? It's not like, oh, you know what? Has $1 million. I'm putting like these big building. No, I'm giving you this big mega jail, but I'm gonna give you $35 million. You can buy a museum. Like, really?
Can you say that saying again?
It's better to stand up hungry than to be on your knees eating crumbs, right? We don't need that, And these guys are like, hey, we didn't elect you to give me crumbs. We've been getting that shit for hundreds of years, right? You need to stand up for us, right? You're the one that need to have to be brave enough to walk away and say, no, we're not taking this. We're not taking this, right? Have the courage. It's just about having courage.
Speaking on a political side in politics, that's almost career suicide.
Fine, don't fight a flag. What you fighting for, right? And then these are the people. You know how many elected officials I talk to, and they say, well, Don, I'm not going to name names to embarrass you, just about all of them. I didn't really win my position because, I got votes from Chinese people, and I'm like, now you're spreading the bullshit. Now, half the people here are not qualified to vote because they're immigrant. They don't even have a green card.
Right.
So now you're gonna, right? So really, the only way you're gonna do it. So then why don't you move to a neighborhood where everyone has a green card? Go, and then do that. Every single one of them said to me, I didn't, it's hard because I didn't win. I said, well, then do your redistricting properly, put our people together of common interest, and then do that. But it's not good enough for you guys to say, hey, Chinese people didn't vote for me.
So I'm not going to help them out.
I'm not going to help them out.
That's a cop-out. Bullshit. Because they're still part of your district.
Hey, Don, did you ever think about running?
I did. I never did want to run because I was making good money doing the IT stuff. But yeah, it's a good question. So I ran a couple of years ago, not because I wanted to, right? So Sheldon Silver's out, and then they say, hey, so I'm getting call from people. They say, hey, no Chinese Americans are running in this race. And I'm like, no way. Somebody's going to run. And no, I'm, because the job only paid $80,000, right? I'm making good money on that. So I'm like, I got to take care of my family. Mm-hmm. So I said, you know what? So I said to my wife, wife, is it okay for me to do it? Because they keep telling me nobody's running. So I came to Chinatown and talked to all the different groups. And they're like, yeah, go for it. I support you. So long story short, once I make my announcement, when it was no Asians running, all of a sudden there are 3 Asians running in addition to me.
Okay.
And I went to one of the restaurant to book an appointment, to book the room for a day to make an announcement. And so this person who is a leader in the, one of the biggest established organizations in political club in Chinatown, happened to be right there trying to book space for her candidate. So I walked up to her and I said, didn't you tell me that you were supporting me? Mm-hmm. Right? Didn't you encourage me for 20 years to run? So why is it when I decide to run now that not only that you're not supporting me, you're actually pushing someone else to run against me? And she said to me, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to run next year for city council. I didn't know you were going to run for this one. And I'm like, oh, is that what it is? Right? So they have no problem lying. So that happened. But again, I decided to do it only because, people are saying there's no one running. But, and then the people said, hey, you're not going to, then all my friends said to me, hey, you're not going to make it because you're up against the machine. And I said, you know what? I got to do it because a lot of people want me to do it. The street vendors and a lot of these guys, grassroots. So if you look at my records, man, I raised money all from, street vendors and people like that. And I said, I got to go through the process. I cannot let them down. I cannot let them know that, I said, because it's not about winning or losing. It's about who we are, that you got to believe in it. You got to have to do it. You got to play it through. You got
to have your voices heard, because even when you're running, you're going to have media covering your race, the race, and that word's going to spread. So you going through the whole process, that makes sure that Chinese community's voices are heard.
Yeah. But again, then they'll also realize as an Asian man, like, dude, you get screwed over like multiple times, right? So I did an interview with New York Times, and so I said to them, so they did not endorse me. But worse, they said, Don Lee, Chinatown businessman. I'm like, right?
That's tough. It makes it look like you have a financial agenda. I'm like, personal financial
I said,
agenda.
wait a minute. You guys wrote about me when I brought Firecracker back to Chinatown. You guys mentioned as community activists. You guys wrote about me fighting for the street vendor. That was okay. You guys wrote about me for bringing Grand Street Station. That's okay. But when I decide to run for office, I am Don Lee, the Chinatown businessman.
Wow.
Right? And that's mainstream media, right? That's the New York Times for you. And it's not like, so again, it's okay. I just think that all of us have to be willing to do what's right and be able to accept the consequences. Sacrificing, look, the civil rights leaders sacrificed a hell of a lot more for us to be here. Right?
You're damn right, yeah.
Right? They did all that, and I'm gonna worry about my own little feelings. I shouldn't do this. I'm like, you know what? If we say that we actually are inspired by them, then they make ultimate sacrifices. We can afford to do some sacrifices on our own.